The 2025 car market situation just got a lot worse. We were just starting to heal. I was actually starting to have hope for younger Gen Z to finally be able to buy affordable cars. Why does everything just keep slipping through our hands? Why couldn't this just be on April Fool's Day, bro? It had to be April 2nd, so we know it's not a joke. So if you don't know what happened, basically the US released a new wave of tariffs, one of which is specifically targeted towards automobiles. By the time this video goes live, many car dealers will receive their final wave of non-tariffed cars, which is around April 7th to 8th. After April 23rd, certain automakers like Volkswagen will have the tariff-affected vehicles hit their lots. The date will differ from brand to brand based on their shipping schedule, but regardless, sometimes towards the end of this month and especially towards the end of next month, there's a very high chance that they're just gonna have their prices completely change. There also will be some jerkwads that will even just adjust the prices already by the time this video goes live, because some of them basically said that as soon as Thursday midnight, they're just gonna change their prices, because at the end of the day, car dealerships aren't our friends. If they're having to pay more to get their vehicles, they're going to charge the consumer more as soon as possible. And what this basically did is it just gave the new car markets momentum, the old Yeller treatment. We really just got taken out back and shot in the head. Many cars of all shapes and sizes, from Hondas to even American brands like Jeeps and Chryslers, will see an increase of $5,000 to even $8,000 after the tariffs are in place. It is percentage based, so it can even be higher. It will obviously depend on how much the vehicle costs in the first place. If you are in the market for a new car, and only if you really need it, like right now, this instance, you better buy it soon. Some of them will still sell cars that arrived pre-tariff at pre-tariff prices, and the way you can tell the difference is by asking the salesman to look at the VIN. Cars will say what month they left the factory on their VIN. Therefore, earlier 2025 models, and especially overflow 2024 models, should still be sold at pre-tariff prices. And if you are watching this video, I'll give you some insider information. If possible, have them take you to the overflow lot where they're going to store these 2024 or early 2025 models, because they're probably going to try to hide them for two reasons. One of which is because they want the newer incoming tariff cars to be on the main lot to force newer buyers who don't know what's going on to immediately get dealt with that price. But also because demand is going to be high, and those cars from 2024 and 2025, early 2025, probably aren't going to be there much longer. So there's a chance that overflow lot will still empty out really quickly in the next couple of months. So if you're hearing this now, I would act accordingly. Also, before someone just says, oh, well, just buy used. Well, I got bad news. No. Wait. You're not the only one thinking that. If demand for a dwindling supply surges, then guess what? Price surges too. And in this case, I'm not speaking hypothetically, it's already something that has been happening since post-pandemic. The used car market is actually an even dumber storm compared to the new car market. I was originally going to make a video called Used Car Market Situation is Delusional for this week, and I'm still going to make that video to explain the situation better, but I had to put it a little bit on hiatus because this obviously is brand new news, and it was a direct sequel to my previous video, which if you haven't watched is basically pointless now. Like, this is the first time ever where I'll say like, oh, if you haven't watched previous video, yeah, don't bother watching it. It sucks, because I was so happy that video. It was the longest time in forever where car prices, they were dropping like 20 to 25%. We actually saw signs of a automobile market crash, and then this happened. But basically, the reason used car market is extremely delusional right now is due to something called negative equity. Basically, people who bought cars from 2020 to 2022 during their peak pricing era weren't actually able to afford those loans. So in order to sell the car used, they have to charge a very high price to hopefully recoup the loss on their lien. This would result in delusional listings like a $7,500 1999 Dodge Caravan, or all the $30,000 2022 Civics that you see despite having 50k mileage, even though you could just get a new one prior to these tariffs, so early 2025, and they would probably only be $2,000 more. And it's one of those moments where I actually would recommend people buy the new car over the used car, because why would I take a used car from 3 years ago that has 50,000 mileage when the new one has a warranty and only is a couple grand more? And to explain why this phenomenon happened, you have to remember that used cars can only exist if new cars are being purchased, especially at a good and frequent rate. Basically, if newer cars are becoming more and more expensive and purchased less frequently, then the pool of modern used cars will start to dwindle too, which in turn causes the increase of used car prices as well. They're two linked markets, always have been, and especially when you consider chip shortages, supply chain issues from quarantine, labor shortages, some labor unions actually protesting and not wanting to work, and also now these tariffs. New cars they were kind of already strained for the past 5 years, and that is why all the car prices have gone ballistic, including used cars. And this is why you see people still fighting tooth and nail over 2010 model year cars, which are now 15 years old in the used market, because yes, 2010 is 15 years ago. Sorry, I have to remind that for people who still think it's like 5-10 years ago. Could have 7 abusive owners and it's not gonna run reliably as it did when it was new. People are fighting for some really low quality cars at really insanely rip-off prices. So understandably, people still wanted newer cars to heal, since if they heal, that means the current 2015 to 2020 era of cars can finally hit the used market more reliably with lower mileage and less owners. You see how that works? In order for the 5 to 10 year used market to be healthy prices, we need brand new car market to also be healthy. So it makes sense how if new cars haven't been great for the past 5 years, then used cars from the past 5 years and even 10 years are still completely crap. That is why the used market buyers should still be invested in what happens with the new car market. Basically, what I'm getting at is that after the tariffs sink into place, a lot more buyers are going to flood into the currently still poorly priced used car market, which will result in, well, you guessed it, another pandemic pricing pandemonium, where we're gonna see 5 to 10 year used base model cars still selling north of 20 grand. Like, for anyone who has yet to own a car, but has some money to buy one, and you really do need one to get to work, or maybe you do have one, but it's 15 years old and super unreliable, and you have to replace it, for the first time ever, I will give the recommendation to buy now. Whether it's a new or used car, you need to buy them soon. Like, save your next few paychecks if you have to get a bigger down payment, because by the end of May, none of the pre-tariff cars from the final April 7th batch will be on the car lots anymore. Also, if you don't even want to buy new, again, buying used is going to be the cheapest it will be now, because the market, like I said, has been 20-25% under this year in 2025. This has been the cheapest it's been since the whole pandemic started, but it's only going to go back up from here, because demand is going to surge, and with prices surging and tariffs causing everything to be more expensive, there's going to be a lot of competition, not just flooding the new market, but like I said, also the used market. They're connected markets. That's how this works. Don't think you're a smart little cookie because you think of used market buying, because everyone and their mom is thinking of doing that now too, now that the new car market is going to be tariffed. Like, I hate pushing FOMO, and that's why every single other car market video I've made, I usually avoided recommending people to buy, because I knew that the car market had potential to heal. Even at the end of last video, I still gave the recommendation to wait a few months to let the car prices equalize to pre-pandemic prices, because I assumed by the end of this year, they might fall another 5, 10, even 15%, and by the time prices fall 40 to 50% from the high of quarantine, they've basically stabilized to where they should have inflated to pre-pandemic, so 2019 era. Now, unfortunately, we are obviously getting factual confirmation that those days won't be coming anytime soon. A lot of automotive experts, as well as market experts, and obviously myself being an automotive entertainer, but also someone who does study the car market, we're all coming to the same conclusion, which is that the car market is basically because there are confirmed tariffs. This is a factual thing. This isn't like a pseudo projection, an estimate. No, we're straight up given the numbers off the rip. If cars go up 25% because of tariffs, that doesn't actually mean it's a flat rate of 25% all cars, because dealerships are different, and some of them are like, wow, this really affected our profits. We're gonna charge 8% more on top of that 25%, or some will be like, we're gonna charge 10% more, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, again, like I said, we've seen their greediness during pandemic. I don't trust them. They're gonna push prices as far as they can. Whenever things get hard for them, whenever things get more expensive for them, they push the expenses onto us. They are not our best friends, which is why I'm extremely negative about this, and why a lot of other automotive market analysts are also negative about this, because I don't see a universe where automotive prices don't get fucked again by this. There is no longer speculation of whether or not the car market will crash any further. We are at the bottom. As of my video that I made in March 2025, that is the bottom. We've hit rock bottom. Things will go up yet again. It's unfortunate. I wished we crashed more, but if you want to buy a car, like I said, if you really need to buy one, they're the cheapest now than they ever will be. I cannot in good faith tell you to wait another year or two for the market to so-called heal, because I don't know how long these tariffs will be in place, and I don't know how long the effect of them will linger after they've been removed. So again, this means that car prices from January 2025 to early April 2025, by the time you're watching this video, they're the best that they have been in a long time. But only buy if you need to, alright? You should not be looking at this as an excuse to replace a 3 to 5 year old car that still runs just fine. Do not use this as an excuse to take an insanely high loan on a car that you don't need, because at the end of the day, you know, a 60 to even 100 grand loan is still a 60 to 100 grand loan. I'm talking for those people who generally just need like a grocery getter or a commuter right this instant, something from 15 to 30 grand, be it new or used. Prices are only going to get worse in the coming months, so yeah, buy now before the floodgates open. If you're watching this video, you are one of the first people who are being informed of the situation right now. By the time other people figure out that the tariffs have completely screwed over car prices 2 months later, it'll be too late if you're in that batch of people, because car prices will probably already spike up, which will basically outpace all of the depreciating that they've done. Because in 2023, they depreciated by 3 to 4%. 2024, they depreciated 10%. The end of 2024, they started including, you know, $2,000 rebates, and by 2025, we were seeing a 20% on top of all that. So like basically the 25 to 30% price decrease that we've seen around March 2025, that's just canceled out. I can't reiterate that enough. And with the tariffs, again, being around 25%, and again, we don't know how specific industry is being affected, because cars are made of many things. They have steel, they have GPUs in them, so on and so forth. And again, dealerships want profit, so they're not going to honor that flat rate. They're going to charge a little off the top to try to, you know, cover their own butt. Yeah, we may see that 30% that we just saw drop, that's just going to disappear in the next couple months. I really wish that it crashed further, but I can't in good faith stall anymore. Otherwise, 2 to 3 more months, you're going to be guaranteed facing an increase of around 25 to 30%, which even for grocery getter cars is going to be 5 to 8 grand. More information regarding the tariff though. All auto parts no later than May 3rd will have the tariff imposed on them. So that's the deadline. So even for the car modding scene, we're also cooked, because car parts will also be going up, and that also affects people who aren't modding their cars but just maintaining their cars. So if you currently own a BMW and you have to import parts, well, you're gonna see a part price increase after May 3rd. So plan accordingly with that information you now know, and that's gonna be true of all, I want to say non-domestic cars, but the funny thing is most domestic vehicles like Jeeps and Chryslers and even Cadillac and really most GM cars, is that they actually use a lot of parts from Mexico. Even their parts will be affected. And it's funny because that means this tariff that was designed to protect domestic industry doesn't actually work on automotive domestic industry, because the automotive industry, even United States companies like Jeep, like Chrysler, like GM, are so ridiculously intertwined, like interconnected with the world's supply chains, that their cars have gone up in price too, including their parts, so not just for the sale price. We're headed towards an encore of 2022, which is something that no one in the world would ever ask for, because this time we haven't recovered, because it's only been 3 years since then, which was the peak stupidity of the automotive market. On top of that, inflation has actually gotten much worse than 2022. Things are really expensive just for general life things like rent, like food, and so on. A lot of people just don't have money to buy anything right now. Not even the clout boys who are still upside down on their 2022 Civic Type R that they bought for 71 grand. I'm not letting them live that one down, by the way. I will always make fun of those stereotypes, because those clout boys 100% dug themselves into that situation. But again, for the everyday man who just wants a 30 grand grocery getter, even they're going to get priced out within the next few months, and that's tragic. I don't know what the future years will be like for cars and car enthusiasts anymore. I was already super hopeless in 2022 because of the stupid prices, but at least back then, we were only 2 years into the stupidity. I knew that eventually time would heal all wounds, and as I saw 2023 decline even just 4%, it lit my eyes up. And then when 2024 came around, I was getting pretty happy when I saw 10%, and I was ecstatic. Like, I was actually happy making last video. I thought 2025 was going to be the year where a lot of car enthusiasts will join this hobby again, because they'll be affordably priced for them again, and that by the time 2026 or 2027 happened, we'd get another renaissance of a whole bunch more automotive people joining the community. Then this happened. Anyways, that's all I've got to share for now, so like this video and share it to someone who needs to know this information right now and needs to go get a car ASAP. Subscribe for more weekly situations coverage, and thanks for watching. I'll see y'all next time. Blade Angel out.